All right, we had a technical error. This is Miss Anika Chellen, right?
Yeah.
Some people call you Chellen.
Yeah, Annika Chellen with an E.
Yeah, so we had some technical errors. We're good now. I just forgot to press record. Anika is, I started like following her Instagram, and we worked at the gym together. Mm-hmm. And she posts these really good looking tasting foods on her Instagram, and it's basically like really healthy but tastes good, and that's like kind of the slogan for it. And you have a TikTok for it and everything, correct now?
Yeah, started putting them all on
That's
TikTok.
awesome. So how did you, or like what was the reasoning, your inspiration for just cooking healthy food but tasting good and like all the like that?
Yeah, so I got into lifting in about 5 years ago, and then with all of that, when you get pretty involved in like the bodybuilding scene, you're tracking all your macros and everything, which I was doing, which I still do now more, just like when I'm cutting though. And then, but with COVID, that's kind of been on hold. But anyway, with that, so I was tracking my macros a lot. So I was aware of like how calories worked, but I wanted a way to like just not eat chicken, rice and broccoli and like oatmeal with protein, like such a like classic bodybuilder's menu.
Yeah.
And then I got exposed to If It Fits Your Macros. And from there I was like, okay, like I can have other foods beyond just like these bland things and make them taste good. And then I just started like experimenting a lot.
With the French fries and everything?
Oh yeah, the fries.
She makes these really good like looking French fries that I'm sure they taste great.
They're so good because it's like I bake them, so I'm not frying them, but I crisp them properly so they look like they're fried.
Can you explain that? Like, how do you crisp, like, because I've baked fries before and they taste like butthole sometimes.
It just tastes like a potato. And it's like there's a difference between a potato and a French fry. Yeah. So then I think what I do is I cut up the potatoes like they're fries and I use olive oil in them, which a lot of people I think use vegetable oil. Which I know olive oil can be controversial because it's like a really high heat oil, but it's been working for me. Yeah. Sure. So I coat them in olive oil and then just salt and garlic powder. And then the key for me has been using tin foil and then spraying it with a nonstick spray.
Okay.
And some people have said like, oh, use parchment paper, but it doesn't crisp on the parchment paper. So
I've been using parchment paper.
Use tin foil because tin foil gets the heat in it as well. And then it like browns perfectly. But
how do you get like I don't know, it looks like a breaded finish on it.
It's just the crisping.
Really?
Yeah, so you have to use the tin foil, but you have to use nonstick spray, otherwise it'll stick, which I've done. So it's like a lot of trial and error.
How did you get into, I guess, bodybuilding or weightlifting? What do you consider bodybuilding?
I guess it is. I feel like people get sort of scared of the term bodybuilding.
Especially
like,
girls.
Yes, like they think if I say I prefer bodybuilding lifting, they think that like I'm aiming to, I don't know, have like these massive quads and like huge jacked arms, which there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Yeah. But I think people think that bodybuilding equates to that when it's like bodybuilding literally just means building your body like the way you want, which that's just like the kind of training I prefer. Like I like to squat, I like to deadlift, and I like to do accessory movements. And then in doing that, like you build your body
into like a way that you like.
Yeah.
You could build it the way you want.
Yeah, exactly.
Because weightlifting or just like lifting weights or doing cardio, whatever, you could be healthy. But like sometimes I want to have good looking legs. Sometimes I have a better looking butt. Sometimes I want to have a better looking chest, you know?
Yeah.
And bodybuilding, you could actually contour your body in a good way and like what you want to.
Yeah. I think a lot of females are sort of scared of that, or the word bodybuilding, when really it's not. It doesn't equate to like giant, huge muscles. It's just like how you want to be.
What I tell a lot of girls when I train sometimes, I was like, because the stigma is, oh, I can't lift weights, I'll look too bulky, you know, for girls, right? And I was like, there's a ton of guys out there who are trying so hard to look that swollenness, and they work out all the time and they're still not there yet.
No, they're not there yet. Yeah. Like for me, bodybuilding, like if I'm following like a proper, usually I'll do like a 12-week program.
Yeah.
If I'm following a proper program, and then during that time is when I'm lifting like the most consistently and the most heavy, that's the time I get the leanest or like the skinniest, I guess. Sure. So it definitely doesn't mean like you're going to get huge and bulky.
How did you get into like, if it fits your macros, or how did you learn all these working outs? Because like you're not a personal trainer, right?
No, I've like toyed with the idea of it because like, a lot of people sort of ask me.
We'll probably hit you up.
Yeah, like I'm super involved in it, but I think I don't know. I think I'm too impatient to be a trainer. Like, you're so patient. Like, for me, it's like, I think if I'm training people and they don't get it right away, I'm like, ugh, come on. But
yeah, it's hard.
It's hard.
It's hard. Have you had to like train any of your friends that?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
But a lot of them, I find, for the most part, like, they've all caught on to it pretty quickly. Like, I grew up dancing competitively. So
oh, really? What dance?
kind of like everything. So it's like jazz, hip hop.
No, you did it.
I did.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
so like
awesome.
my whole life, like I danced through college.
Okay.
My American term college. I find they can catch on to it quicker because you're
Just
sort
like
of,
that more body awareness type.
yeah, and like they
Okay.
can see a movement and mimic it pretty well. But most of my friends, yeah, have all caught on to it, but I wouldn't. They're not. Yeah, it's like some people love it, some people don't. Some people prefer more of like cardio classes. I guess it's like whatever.
Yeah, but what do you tell like people who, because you probably have a decent amount of people hit you up about fitness advice or no?
Yes, probably not in like the last like 6-ish months though, because of COVID. Like I
Yeah.
haven't, like I used to post more of my workouts on my
Yeah.
Instagram and that's kind of slowed because I literally only got back into a gym properly training last week.
Yeah.
Before that it was
Well, pre-COVID, when people would hit you up, like what would that advice be to like people who are like, oh, I want to get in shape, or I want to start lifting, or like what's your initial advice to someone who wants to like change their I don't know, or start their fitness journey?
I think is consistency and patience. Well, I just said I'm not patient, but I think that
In a different way though. You're
yeah,
like, yeah.
it's, you have to be, I think a lot of people expect to see a massive change within like 2 months, when like one of the transformation photos I posted like sometime last year was like 3 or 4 years apart, and that
Yeah.
it took like that long for like my body to sort of change the way I kind of wanted it to. Yeah.
It's kind of funny too, because like a lot, like I've posted a couple like transformation photos as well,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people will say like, oh, like that was so easy, huh? Like I see you working out all the time. I was like, it took 4 or 5 years to do that, dude.
Yeah, like it's hard.
Yeah.
And I think too with that, like the advice I give, I also say, I think that a lot of the people you see on Instagram too, who kind of emphasize like, oh, like accept your body. I feel like they worked out for like 5 or 6 years, like really intensely. And now they're at their point of being
Yeah.
like, accept your body. And so that throws people off when they ask you like, how do I get to that point? I'm like, well, remember people's like backstory
Yeah.
and put the effort in and be patient with yourself, and the results like will come. But like, I think progress pictures really help because
Yeah, it keeps
like,
you accountable too.
yeah, like you
right?
look in the mirror every day, you're not going to see the changes. So I think, yeah, consistency and patience and follow a proper plan. Like I think a lot of people just try to like wing it. And I'm like, I'm very like goal oriented, that I'm like, I need it laid out for me.
Really? You always plan out everything?
If I'm doing a proper cut, yeah, like always, like I adjust my macros like almost, well, depending, generally it's every 2 weeks.
Do you count macros like all the time for how?
No, just kind of when I'm cutting,
Okay.
which I've been like the last week and a half.
Yeah.
I've been like every other day probably.
I started counting macros, I think like 2 or 3 years ago. And then like I started getting like estimates in my head of like,
Yeah.
I kind of know where it's at, but like I really don't like it.
See, I like it because I think
A lot of people think of it as like a game.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like a super organized person. Like lists and spreadsheets are like how I work
Oh
well.
yeah. So I worked at the gym with Annika. There's a gym called Kinross Recreation Center at UCLA. It's a graduate gym. Annika was a law student, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a pretty laid back job in terms of like the front desk.
Yeah.
And Annika had these ridiculous calendars and to-do sheets. And I was
Yeah.
so organized. And yeah, just experiencing it firsthand. You can continue. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to point that
Yeah.
out.
So no, I'm definitely, I function well off of like organization. It
Yeah.
like makes me function better. So with macros, it's like, I feel it's like organizing it. I'm like, okay, I can see everything clearly versus being like, oh, what was that? Like, and if I'm not gaining weight, or if I am gaining weight, whatever my goal is, I like to be able to look at the why behind it.
What's the why?
I guess like the why is like, if I'm wanting to lose weight and I'm not, then I can like look at my past like food logs to understand like, oh, okay, well, I was having like, we have like a thing of like Hershey Kisses at the front door.
Yeah.
And I'll have like a few of those,
Yeah.
like most days,
Yeah.
but that adds up. Like
does.
if
It
you have
does.
like 4 of those, that'll be like 100 calories every day. And then over a week, that's an extra 700 calories a
Yeah.
week. So things like that.
Yeah. And then you can't burn that off in one cardio session.
No, you can't. Which I'm like slowly starting to do cardio. Like I haven't been on a Stairmaster until last week in months. That thing's so hard.
Yeah, I just started running. Like, I ran the last 3 days, and cardio's awful.
You're brave. I literally can't run. Like,
yeah, I did pretty good in 3 days. So the first day I ran like an 8:45 pace, which is like okay. And
because you do miles though.
yeah, it's like 2 miles.
I do kilometers. I don't even really know miles.
Oh, it's so funny because Annika posted today of the weather. Yeah. And it had like 23 degrees, and she was like, all sunshine and rainbows, super happy on her thing. I was like, that's fucking cold. Like, why is she so happy? And then I looked at it, I was like, it's Celsius. And I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Some of like my other American friends replied being like, I'll never understand Celsius. I'm like, Celsius makes so much more sense. Like, if you ever, if you hear me saying something like in Fahrenheit, if I'm like, yeah, it's 70 today, it's so nice. Like, I'm making that up. I don't know what that means. I'm just like basing off what other people say. Like, I don't know what 70 degrees is.
I'm pretty sure like, I want to say like 23 degrees Celsius is around like 70 degrees Fahrenheit.
I think it's around there. It's like, I like it's so weird because Canada, generally our thermostats in the house are in Fahrenheit. And I like the house at like 71, but I don't know what that equates to outdoors.
Yeah, I don't either.
It's so weird. So I'm like, this weird blend. I'm like,
when did you move to LA? From Canada.
August 2019. So I drove.
Oh, so you literally just lived here when I met you?
Yeah, I just moved here. Yeah, okay. I got a job like at the gym right away because being on a student visa, you can only work for the university you're attending.
Got it.
So that's why when I was working at the gym with you, I only worked at 5 a.m. because then it didn't affect my classes. So I'd work from like 5 till 10 a.m. and then go to class.
Yeah.
Like 3 or 4 days a week.
Working at a gym, especially in the morning, is probably like the best job for a college student just because not a lot of people come in the morning. You could do your homework and all that type of deal. So you probably got all your law.
Literally, that's when I would do my readings because it's the same people every morning who'd come in. So they kind of know their way around. They're not asking many questions. Of course, I'd be like aware or like alert if they were. But yeah, it like worked well with my
How was law school at UCLA?
It's hard. It is hard.
In what way? Like a lot of reading and stuff?
A lot of reading. And I think, so in law school in the US, I don't know if every school does, but I think most do. They practice the Socratic Method. So they call on you throughout the class and they question you. Like they have a sheet of everyone in the class with their names. So they'll just be like, Annika, what do you think of this case?
Oh, no, raising your hands and stuff?
No, well, they do. Some professors do, some don't. So they'll do that, but then it doesn't end with like you answering. They question you again. They'll be like, oh, and then, well, what would happen if this happened instead? And so I think that petrified me. And my second semester, I had this professor who's absolutely amazing, Professor Colgan. If anyone is attending UCLA Law, she's unbelievable. She's very intimidating. And I got called on the first day. And luckily I did the readings, but that is like why the readings are important because if you didn't do them and you get called on, it looks so poorly on you. So yeah, the schooling is hard. I think I've done 3 degrees in 3 different countries, Canada, Australia, and the US.
Oh, you did school in Australia too?
Yeah, I did my first law degree there.
How does like all of that like combine together? Because like I don't know if it, so like from my experience, like from different schools in the United States, you could go to like a state school and then if you go to like a different school, like they kind of don't accept it type of deal. Like, is that the same thing for like countries?
So because Canada, Australia, and England are all part of the Commonwealth, you can do a law degree there and it's transferable.
For all those. And so you need to have a different one in the United States.
Yes. So I went to Australia to do law school because it would convert back to Canada. You have to do some accreditation exams. There's like 5.
Yeah.
But then in my final year of law school in Australia, I realized I wanted to go into the entertainment industry. So then I immediately looked at LA and New York, and then I just like the weather better in LA.
Do you love it here?
Oh, I love it. Like,
what do you love most about LA? Besides not snowing what, do you like the snow?
I like to snowboard. Like I snowboard a fair bit, but I like that in LA I can drive 2 hours to Big Bear and I get that.
Yeah.
But then I can come back to
4
palm
hours
trees.
to Mammoth.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's like
100%.
I can get it for when I want and then I can leave it. Because like having to start your car when it's I don't know Fahrenheit. 20 degrees Fahrenheit? If it's 20 degrees out and you have to start your car to heat it up before you even get in it for like 10 minutes is
more like 33, but yeah.
Yeah, I told you, I just make it up. That's awful. But I think what I love about LA, it sounds cliche, but it's like truly the opportunity here is just, it's so different. Like even when my boyfriend moved out here, like the opportunity he's gotten here versus back in Toronto is just, it doesn't even compare.
Unreal.
Yeah. So I think the opportunity, and I chose UCLA because they had the top entertainment law program in the country.
Yeah.
So that brought me here. And I think like the diversity of everything and the weather.
Yeah, you get to meet a ton of people too. You get to experience all the big city things that are kind of going on, how crazy the politics are going on.
Yeah, which is crazy to be here when all of this is going on.
It's been insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy that your boyfriend, like so if anyone knows the Nelk Boys, her boyfriend, what's it, Riley's World?
Relly's World.
Relly's
it's a
World?
nickname, so don't worry about that.
He's the videographer for the Nelk Boys. And yeah, me and a ton of friends watched their videos. And I was like, Annika posted like a BTS or behind the scenes of one of the things. I was like, no way.
I remember when you messaged me being like, holy shit. Or can I swear?
Yeah, you can
like,
swear. That's good.
holy shit. Like your boyfriend's working for the Nelk Boys. And I was like, yeah, like it
Did you
worked
know who
out.
they were?
He did, yeah. Because
Did you know?
I did because they're from where we're from in Canada.
They're from Canada?
Yeah. The two, well, Kyle, who's sort of, I guess, like one of the main guys, he's from Mississauga, which is a city which is right beside the city we're from. And then Jesse, he's from another city that's also near us. So the other two guys, like Steve will do it.
Yeah.
And, oh my God, Salim, they're American. But the other two guys are Canadian.
I'm excited for your law journey. You're a very hard worker. And
Oh, thanks.
I'm excited to see what happens with it.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm working part-time at an entertainment law firm now, but
Yeah. How's that?
it's good experience, but I don't think I'm a law firm person. It's
What attracted you to, I guess, like law in general?
It's not really a great answer, but it was like I did my undergrad degree in arts. And when you go into arts, it's sort of like you kind of have to do a degree after, I find, if you want to
depending on like if art is the thing that you want to do.
Yeah, like I was in political science and philosophy.
Okay.
So yeah, I guess I should say with those majors, it's very common to go into law.
Sure.
And I mean, I was always like decent at like writing. Like I wrote so many essays. I was always pretty good at that. And I've always been one to like have a discussion, I guess. So I was like, okay, I'll go into law school.
Yeah.
And then when I was in Australia, I never really thought of the idea of going to entertainment law because I didn't even really know what it was. And then I was like, well, I want to go like straight to the hub. So then that brought me to LA.
And then it kind of all just came together.
Yeah, so far.
What did you take out from philosophy in undergrad?
God.
Like, do you have any recollection or like something that you really took out of like your philosophy degree? Because like I love philosophy. I like read like this book called The Daily Stoic every morning.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, and it has like a quote from Seneca or Marcus Aurelius, and for me, philosophy gives me some real deep like thinking and stuff like that. Have you taken anything out of philosophy like that?
I don't know. Like, I mean, I graduated in 2015, so it was kind of a while ago.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say, like, when I was writing the essays and stuff, I liked exploring those topics because there was a lot of, I don't know how to say it. Like, all essays, you're bringing in your own ideas.
Yeah.
But philosophy allows for a lot of your own perspective on things. So I found that writing, because my degree was basically writing nonstop essays. Like, I didn't really even have exams. It was almost just like always really big papers. And so, yeah, you really got to kind of like dive into your own ideas and apply them to like the different theories, which was really cool.
Yeah.
And then I minored in political science. And yeah, my favorite course, I was just saying this to someone the other day, was like my U.S. governmental affairs. Like I think I've always been drawn to the U.S.
No way. You think you're going to stay here for a while?
Oh, I don't really plan on going back.
Oh, really?
Maybe I shouldn't say that in case like immigration comes after me. But
Yeah.
yeah, like I want to stay here. Yeah.
You love it that much?
Yeah, like, I mean, Canada's still great. It's an amazing country. Maybe
I love LA.
Yeah, I love LA. Like some people, it's funny, I'll talk to a few people, they're like, I really don't like it. I'm like, I really love it. And I think, like I just find I can really flourish here and explore like different avenues and like doing like a podcast. Like I feel like I would never do something like this back home.
I swear.
Yeah. So it's fun. Yeah, we really like it.
I have a bucket list thing. You know how you said it's close to like everywhere?
Yeah.
So my goal is, I don't know what's going to be this year. We'll see. It depends. Is like go like early morning surfing and then drive to the snow and go snowboarding or skiing.
I've literally said that exact thing the first time I went to Big Bear. I was like, next time I want to surf in the morning, which I've only surfed like a few times in my life.
If you ever want to go, I got an extra board. I take a lot of people out all the time. You just got to get a wetsuit.
Okay, I actually am so down.
100%.
That'd be so fun. I'm not very good. I'm okay. I can get up, but
that's fine.
I've said that exact same thing. I'm like, I want to surf in the morning and snowboard in the afternoon, just because like, where else can you do that? Like, it's so cool.
Yeah. So you're a big Harry Potter fan.
Massive. I have a Harry Potter tattoo.
Really?
Yeah.
What is it? Where is it?
It's like on my ribs, so I can't really show it, but it's the Deathly Hallows.
Okay. That's what's up. So I never read Harry Potter until the beginning of quarantine.
Recently, I remember I replied to all your stories. So I'm like,
replied, she was like, yes. And I never used to be like a huge reader until like 3 years ago. So I was like, I knocked all 7 out in probably like the first month. Right. That's a lot.
That.
It's a lot of
That's
reading.
a lot of reading.
It's a lot of pages. Like, I think the last book's 700 and something pages.
The 5th book is the biggest.
Yeah.
Order of the Phoenix. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I think it's like 800 pages, something like that.
Yeah. But they were one of the best reads I've ever read.
This warms my heart to hear this.
I learned like a lot of like lessons, like life lessons from a child's book, you know?
I love that.
And it was like about friendship and about like losing parents or like losing like loved ones, you know? And taught me like a lot of lessons. I was like, what the heck? And so I guess like my biggest thing is like, why are you such a big Harry Potter's fan? Like, or how did you get into Harry Potter?
I started reading it. I think I was in like grade 4. So maybe it was around 10. Yeah. I've always been a massive reader, like since I was a kid. Like when you start learning to read in kindergarten, like I never stopped. Like I've always been a big reader.
Really?
So then Harry Potter came out and it was so big in the media and everything that my parents had got me the books, and I just love them. And then why
do you love them? Do you love just the story? The lessons?
I think I love the story. Like I'm always into like the fantasy books and movies and everything. Like I just think the story behind it, like it's not just a story. It's like this whole other world. Like every little detail of those books is thought out. Like nothing is just placed there for no reason. Like it ties into everything else. And I just think it's so incredible. Like she's literally a genius, I think. And I also think it's amazing how she started that. She was living like on welfare with a child, and then now if
you guys haven't seen the commencement speech for Harvard by J.K. Rowling, it is one of the best, wouldn't you agree, speeches like
it's
ever.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I have it in a book.
I saw that.
Yeah, because I donate to her foundation every year. Yeah. It's unbelievable. Like she's so intelligent and just everything she's done. She's the first author to become a billionaire. I'm pretty positive on that.
I'm not sure.
I could be wrong, but yeah, like she's just incredible. I just think the story is so great and captivating.
No.
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends who like read, and I have a lot of friends who like don't read.
I know a lot of people aren't big readers, or they're like, I'll watch the movies. Whereas if I ever find out a movie is coming out that's based off a book,
you'll read the book.
I'll read the book first. Yeah.
I always do that.
Yeah.
What do you think the biggest, or I guess for the advice for anyone listening out there, like what's the importance of reading to you, or like what's the benefit?
I think that it goes beyond. I was going to say it allows you to use your imagination. But I feel like for me personally, when I read, like I get very sucked into the story. That's why I'm saying like my favorite thing about Harry Potter is like the story.
Imagination in the sense that like I'll read the book and I have a different articulation of it than you do.
Yeah. And I think like when I read a book, I always describe it like this. It's like there's a movie playing in my head. Yeah. And then when I stop reading, like for whatever reason, I'm like, it's like as if a movie's on pause and I'm like itching to get back to it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to get back. Like I'm not the fastest reader, but decent. Like, and I'll just like, all I want to do is read. Yeah. It's like, if I have 5 minutes, I'll be like, oh, well, I just want to read. If I get sucked into a story,
you're stuck there.
Yeah. I just love reading. So I guess my advice for everyone, I feel like it allows you to sort of disconnect from everything going on because it's just you in that book and like you and your imagination. And
do you think that's important? Just kind of disconnect from like reality for a little bit?
I think so. Especially with everything going on right now with like the media, like with like the president and COVID, it's just like nonstop that I feel like taking that time away and like going into your own little world that's just about a story it's good for you. And then like how you're saying you took some lessons from Harry Potter, like that's so great.
Yeah.
So then, I think there's a lot of benefits to it.
Yeah. Fiction is another thing. Like stories or archetypes of like they're like most stories are the same story over and over again, but like portrayed differently.
Yeah.
You know, like the hero stories, like in a lot of books. You know
yeah.
I mean, that's Harry Potter, you know?
It is. Yeah. I know. I love them. Yeah. I've never been too into the like kind of self-help books, which I know are very in right now.
Yeah. I read a lot of self-help books in the last like 3 years.
I'm trying. Like I bought Atomic Habits, but
Atomic Habits is okay. But the thing is like self-help books only help when you need help.
Yeah. I know. I just haven't gotten too into them.
I'm not super into them anymore because like I'll read every self-help book and I'm like, okay, I'm already good. Okay,
I'm like,
I don't need it.
This is like refreshing to hear because I feel like everyone just goes on about like obviously there is benefits, like they're written for a reason, but I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, it's so great. But I feel like you sort of step back and you're like, I am doing these things versus being like, I have to do these things. You're like, I am doing them and I'm in a good spot.
Yeah.
So yeah.
The biggest, I think I read 12 Rules for Life for Jordan Peterson. Do you know who that is? He's from Canada.
No, I don't.
Yeah, so he was like a Harvard professor and was a professor at the University of Toronto, I believe.
Okay.
And he basically wrote biblical stories, how we're talking about. Like he'll write about Cain and Abel. He wrote about Adam and Eve and basically related them to like a self-help book.
That's cool.
Yeah, and it was super good. And it's super, makes you learn about history too and like different religions and just brings about a self-help. So I read that book. I read Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. Have you heard of that?
I haven't heard of that one.
Okay. Well, I basically read a ton of self-help books and because I wasn't in a good spot in my life. Like, like I would say like probably depressed, wasn't working out, was pretty lazy. All these books got me to do those things.
Okay. So that's great.
Perfect.
Yeah.
But any book that I pick up now, that's a self-help book. I'll read it. I'm like, like I'm already doing those things. I don't need this.
It's sort of reiterating what the other one said in like another way.
And some, like you said, a lot of people were like, oh my God, I'm so happy I read that. And it kind of makes you want to read it too. But I'm not getting that much out of it anymore.
That's sort of how I felt. Like Atomic Habits, like I can say that's like the first sort of self-help book I've read. And like I said earlier, like I'm a pretty organized person. Yeah. So a lot of the things that he's saying, I'm like, I do this. Like I put my goals first. I make the habits for things. Like even with the gym, like I wanted to be working part-time while I was in law school here. The only way to make that happen was if I worked for the university, but I didn't want to affect my schooling. So I only worked at 5 a.m. It's like, I'm aware of how to implement those habits in. So maybe that's why I kind of gave up.
Some way those habits were implemented towards you. How so? Because like for me, they weren't implemented. And you already had them.
I think I'm a very like disciplined person by nature. Like I grew up dancing competitively.
Okay.
And I think dancing teaches you discipline, like especially like when you're taking a ballet class, like you need to be focused and you have to show up. You have to look a certain way, like meaning like your hair has to be done, like your bodysuit, not like body weight wise. Sure. But so I think that just came like from years of doing that. Yeah. So then naturally that sort of applied with my academics, and then from academics as you get older that applies to like your professional life. And most people I know who I danced with did do quite well in school because it sort of that those habits carry over. And
it's kind of like that saying, like how you do anything is how you do everything type of deal.
It's so true. So I think that's kind of applied to a lot of things I do. I mean, I'm not always like disciplined, like some things I like fall back on, like but and get like demotivated sometimes, but I usually always come back to like I need to get this done.
What are some weaknesses that you think you have in that arena?
Oh God, I can be very, very hard on myself. Like just like straight up like mean to myself. And then if I let that kind of take over, then that affects the discipline. Cause I'm like, no, like you shouldn't be doing this. Like you're too dumb for this. No one wants you, blah, blah, blah. And I'll get in my head, but then usually like a day or two later, I'm like, that was stupid. Get back into it. But that's probably my big thing.
Yeah. So some people stay in that sense, in that mean state to themselves for a very long time. What do you do to like snap out of it?
I don't even know. Like, I think it's just time. Like I sort of distract myself with other things. And I guess maybe like those other habits that I have of going to the gym, and which I'm not always motivated to, but I'm like, I know I'll feel better after. My body feels better. then I'm like, if like, say I was like super angry yesterday at myself, I would have been like, okay, well, tomorrow I have to get those things done. Like I have to go to the gym. I have to run whatever errand. And then you kind of forget about that. Like, well, for me, that like hatred I'm having in that moment.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm feeling better. So let's get like
to-do
back
lists
to it.
are awesome. Like when I feel that way, I just write down a ton of shit that I got to do and then just do it.
Yes.
And then you feel better when that list is done.
Lists are like, I thrive off lists, but I
Lists are
also
awesome.
like them done like really fast. Like right now I'm in the process of moving.
Yeah.
But we basically have to furnish an entire apartment
Yeah.
because everything in my place now is mostly my roommates, which has been amazing. So now I have to furnish a place, which costs a lot of money.
Oh, for sure.
And I'm like, well, I want everything right now, but I can't. And then I'm not checking off these lists. Like I have a massive list for the house and I'm like, I can't check it all off. Like it's going to take a few months, but so I'm like, okay, it will get done.
you can do it quickly. It just takes like a lot of time and energy. Like when I first moved into this place, we had an idea of making our own gym, right?
And it's unreal. This place is amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I love it.
And we put the gym together in 2 weeks. And we just called people every single day, like try to get good deals on OfferUp, on Craigslist, on whatever. But it can happen if you really want it to.
Yeah, it was like that
like
bed.
You just got that bed.
Yeah, I got like a
Beautiful
restoration
bed.
hardware cloud platform bed, I think it's called, and we got it.
Someone's gonna sleep good.
Yeah, like I think the bed goes for like 3,500 plus, like depending on like the fabric, because there's different linens and it gets super costly. And we got it for like under 1,000, which for an RH bed is unreal.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Yeah, so like things like that. Yeah, you just gotta hustle for the deals.
100%. So one thing that super inspires me about you is I look at your Instagram sometimes, and you've been to a lot of places, like traveling wise.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
And I haven't traveled a lot of places, so I'm like, kind of, what's it called? Living vicariously.
Oh yeah,
through
living
those
vicariously. Yeah.
So like, what inspired you to travel? Because a lot of people, or like, yeah, what inspired you to travel? And then secondly, like a lot of people think like it's kind of impossible to do it, or like it's too expensive, or it's, and I heard that, I mean, like traveling's not that expensive really. Like I would look up flights and stuff. They're not that bad.
No, the flights aren't that bad.
Yeah.
I think my first time like traveling was probably when I moved to Australia. Like before that I had done like random like all-inclusive vacations with my family to like Dominican and Mexico, and I think we had been to like Grand Cayman Islands.
I heard the Cayman Islands are beautiful.
It's stunning.
Yeah.
Like that place is a bit costly, I know.
Yeah.
But it's so beautiful. Like that's like a must see, I would say. The water's insane. But
super clear, right?
Yeah, like you can see everything. With Australia, so I graduated from my undergrad, and then during that time I'd been applying to law school, and I didn't like the law schools I got into in Canada. Like they're fine schools, but I didn't, the cities that they were in, it's like Windsor, Ontario. I don't know if anyone's Canadian, but
Yeah, there's a few Canadian listeners out
Okay,
there.
so-
do you know who Christine Lee is?
no.
She's from Canada. She was in the Olympics. She did the Olympics for gymnastics.
Oh, I saw you've posted with, have you or not?
Yeah, I posted
Yeah.
her episode.
Yeah.
I think it's like 3. She's from Canada.
Okay. Yeah. So Windsor, Ontario is very boring. So it was like I gotten in there and a couple other places and I didn't like it. But with Canada and Australia being part of the Commonwealth, I found out like the degree was transferable.
Sure.
So I thought to myself, like at the time I was like 23 and I was like, if I don't go to Australia now, I'm going to start law school in Canada. And generally with law school is like you do law school and you get a job right away because like you're writing the bar and whatever.
Yeah.
So I was sort of like, if I look back in my life on 10 years, in 10 years from now, will I be happy I went to Australia or stayed home? And I was like, I think I'd be happy. I went to, yeah. So then in Australia, like I traveled all around there, and Asia is so close to Australia. It's like we flew to Bali for $200.
Yeah.
Like, and that's like Australian dollars, which would be like $120 US.
Yeah.
Like, and that was a direct flight. So
That's crazy that you put all that together in terms of, we'll continue in a little bit, but in terms of like thinking about the future, like would I regret going to Australia or not? And the answer is like no. And so for me, I decided to go to community college instead of like a 4-year university because I wanted to pursue like college golf. And I had the same thing, like 10 years from now, would I regret like pursuing my dream of like becoming a college golfer? And I was like, no. Like, and a lot of people don't put like that would I regret. They don't put yourself in the future too much.
No.
And it's kind of hard to do that, but I think it's the most beneficial too.
Yeah, like I think when I was weighing the options between Canada and Australia, and I mean at the like looking back on it now, like I wish I just chose a law school in the US, but who knows how my life would turn out now.
Yeah, but you had all those experiences too.
Exactly. So that's the thing. I feel like you can always play like the what if game, but you
like kind of just go in loops all the time.
Yeah. So I sort of like weighed my options, and I was like, well, this is unreal. Like I'll get to live in Australia, I'll get to get a degree, I'll get to travel. That it became more than just an academic experience, which is what going to school in Canada would have been for me.
Sure.
It became like a full life experience, and to me, I preach like balance and like kind of everything in your life. Like I don't really care about being at the top of my class, but I care about being in the top 10% of my class, things like that. Yeah. So it was the same thing when applying that like idea to going to school. I was like, well, a life experience is very important in compared to just an academic one. Yeah. Like when you look back at your life, like it's not just about school. Like I can barely remember my undergrad. I'm like, oh yeah, I did. Yeah. Like you remember bits and pieces, but like you remember the big events that happened.
Yeah, one of my favorite quotes was by Mark Twain. He said, "Don't let school get in the way of your education."
Yes, I love that. Yeah, like it's so true. So I think that's kind of what sparked my interest in traveling. Like it was so easy to travel in Australia to Asia. Otherwise, it's pretty hard because it's a giant island. It's so far away.
Yeah. So what's your advice on like to the people out there who like just like been wanting to travel and just like haven't done it?
I would save up your money, set up a goal. Like I'm very goal oriented that I feel like if you set an end date and you put X amount away each week, one, that's super satisfying that you've met that goal. And then two, so there's like, you've met that financial goal and then you also get the benefit of going to a new place. Like I think that there's so much more than the culture we live. Like Canada and the US are very, very similar. Like I don't feel like I'm in a full other country being here because we're pretty similar. Yeah. But being in Australia, like you realize like other ways of living. Like for example, like I find in North America, like we're very focused on work. Like everything is about making money and consumerism. But in Australia, it's not. Like they really value their downtime and like their holiday time. They call it like most people there do not work on a Sunday. They call it like a Sunday sesh. Yeah. So like you go out and like you have drinks, you sit at the beach and you just enjoy the day. And like that's what Sundays are versus like here, if work, it's work. If it's like if something comes up, you work. And like there, like they really do like shut off the clock at like 5 or 6 p.m. for the most part. Me too. Like obviously there's exceptions. Like certain jobs are more demanding than others, but like as a general consensus, that's like how they live, and it's very refreshing. Like people just like enjoy their life a bit. Like it's not all about work and money. So it's nice because then I get to, having lived there, I like try and carry that with me, even though right now I'm like, I will work 7 days a week if I have to, because I'm going like into entertainment law. So ready for that sacrifice.
What's your favorite spot you've been to? Or top 2, top 3?
Top 2 or 3? Oh, that's hard. I think Bali was pretty amazing. Yeah. Why? Well, the people are so kind, and the people were amazing, and just the views like of everything you can see there. Like when we went to like the Sacred Monkey Forest, I think that's called Sanctuary. Sacred Monkey Forest or Monkey Sanctuary. Sacred Monkey. It's something. I swear, sacred is in that name. Okay. The Monkey Sanctuary. Yeah. Whatever it is. Anyway, things like that. Like you're in this like closed off area where it's like all these original trees and there's just monkeys everywhere. I'm like, this is so cool. And then like the cliffs there and seeing everyone surfing like is pretty unreal. And then maybe second, I feel like Australia does have like a special place in my heart. Like I lived in the Gold Coast, which is basically just like a giant strip of beach, and it was pretty unreal. Like it's a very nice place.
Did you ever get how long did you live there?
3 years minus, I guess, like I came home at like Christmas and stuff because that's their summer. So that was
some cool slangs.
They do. Yeah. It takes a bit of getting used to, but
yeah. I can't really tell your accent that much. Like the Canadian accent. I could tell slightly.
It's like certain words. Yeah. Like sorry gets people, and like house. Yeah. Yeah. If I say house, people are like,
oh, you're from somewhere else.
Yeah. They usually are like, are you from Canada? But otherwise I'm like, we sound pretty similar.
Pretty similar.
Yeah,
sure.
especially in LA and like California, like there's not much of an accent.
Yeah, I mean, there's some slangs though that you're like, what?
Name one. Maybe I wonder if I know it.
I don't know.
I know I'm putting you on the spot. It's hard to think of things. I'm thinking my favorite places. I was like, okay, Bali, Gold Coast, Australia.
Yeah.
I don't know the third yet. I haven't been to Europe.
Oh.
Which is like on my list. Like I really, really want to go to Europe.
Yeah, I heard Europe's awesome.
Yeah.
What do you call it? So, what is Anika Chellen most excited for in her life right now? Because you just finished law school, right?
Yeah.
And you're moving to a new spot. You're in LA still, and you're still working, but you still have to take the bar, right?
So I wrote the bar, and then I guess I didn't think I would say this, but I actually didn't pass the bar, which I just found out like a few days ago.
Okay.
But I'm kind of like okay with it. Like I was a bit down on myself. Like I told you before, like I can be like hard on myself.
Sure.
But at the time of writing it, like the bar was supposed to be in July. And then we found out like a month before it got pushed to September. And then like a month before September, we found it got pushed to October.
Yeah.
And then at the time I was in Canada because I went home for COVID.
Yeah.
And then
COVID fucked a ton of shit up.
yeah, like I thought I'd go home for a month. I was home for 5. And then in August, I moved back to the US. So there was traveling. And then my dog died in September. There was a lot of things. There was like a lot of external factors that I'm trying not to be too hard on myself.
Sure.
And I really wasn't far off from passing.
Yeah.
So I'm like, there is some like comfort knowing I wasn't too far off. So I'll rewrite it in July. It is offered at the end of February, but with me moving right now, it just is like, no.
Take your time.
Yeah.
You're working.
Yeah. So I'll write end of July. So yeah, I guess, I didn't pass the bar at telling everyone, but whatever.
No, you're good. No, that just shows that like you're human, you know? And
yeah, I was thinking of actually, I don't know, I toy with the idea because I'm like, do I want to tell everyone? Like my LinkedIn right now is everyone posting their passing letters from the California bar being like, I passed the bar, that I almost want to post my fail letter and be like, I didn't pass the bar and that's also okay.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't mean you're a failure.
Wow.
That doesn't mean you're not going to pass it.
100%.
That I think it might be a bit relatable because a lot of people who did pass had written the bar more than once. Like it's truly such a hard exam.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I didn't pass the bar, but that's okay.
No,
I'll get it the next time.
That's okay. You got it.
Yeah. And then working part-time now, but I am looking to change jobs. Cause I'm part-time at a firm, which has been a really great experience on like the legal side, but I want to be more on like the music company side. Ideally would want to be like an executive.
Yeah.
So working towards that and it'll come.
So all those into one, what are you most excited for in your life right now?
I think
Like with everything.
probably to, like if I think about it, like probably to get a full-time job. I'm like, I just want a full-time job right now.
Like stability and stuff.
Yeah, I think it's the stability of it, like the part-time job, and I'm grateful for that because I know a lot of people don't even have that right now because there's so much going on. Probably a full-time job, and then I'm so excited to move. Like boyfriend and I have never had a place just us, and so I also get to kind of channel like this like decor side of me that I haven't like fully got to explore yet. So I'm stoked about that.
I feel like you have really good taste.
Oh, thank you. So do you, because your place, I was like, this is so my style. I love everything in here. Thank you. Yeah, so I'm like excited to design things like as much as I can in an apartment. But
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So back to fitness real quick. So for fitness for me has like changed my life in I can't even like articulate it properly.
Yeah.
You know? And in terms of just like mental health, in terms of like physical health and just like confidence and everything like that. What do you think or what has fitness done for you in terms of like any of those essence or anything else?
I definitely think the confidence, when you said confidence, like it does really help. Like I think it goes beyond just aesthetics too, is like,
oh yeah,
like you're like, I did that. Like I can, if I want to lift this or if I want to work towards that goal, like you realize that you actually can do it. And then I think subconsciously that does apply to everything else you do in your life. You're like, if I like set a goal, like say I like want to squat 200 pounds, or it's like I have a cut in mind or like some type of strength goal.
Yeah.
Like I know I'll achieve it. Like I'm like, I will get there, whether that takes like 8 weeks or 16 weeks, whatever.
Yeah.
And then that sort of applies to everything else. You're like, I can do it. Like I'll get this done.
I didn't think about that. Like, I don't know, something about like just ripping some heavy weight off the ground just like makes you feel good too.
Yeah, you're like, I'm freaking strong.
Like,
I think
conquer
also
the world.
yeah, I think with like females too, it's like the strength, like it feels good to be strong. You're like,
Yeah.
I'm freaking strong. Like I can lift that. And yeah, I think, the confidence is a big thing. And it sort of affects like everything you do. Like you feel better overall. Like when you take that time for yourself, I think you perform better in other aspects of your life. I feel like if you burn out very quickly, if you don't ever take time for yourself. And going to the gym, that is purely like about you. Like whether you're running or you're weightlifting or you're boxing, whatever like your choice is, that literally is just time
active.
Yeah,
type deal.
it's like purely for you. And I also think it's important. Like I do think in the future, like are you saying that? Like I'm like, this will affect me when I'm older because I'm putting in this training regimen now that I'm going to continue forever. I'm like, I'm going to be healthy when I'm 40, like
50, 60.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, and I'll be in good shape while I'm at it. So that's also great.
Yeah, it's kind of sad sometimes when you actually see like people's bodies go.
Yeah.
You know, especially like in their 40s or 50s too. Like at UCLA, I had a lot of older clients, and osteoporosis is a real thing.
Yeah.
You know, your bones deteriorate if you don't use them. You know, if you don't use it, you lose it.
I think people don't realize that with weightlifting too, is it affects like your bone health and density. That I'm like,
that's the hugest thing.
Yeah, like it helps you so much when you're older, which is also why I'm very focused with like food. Like I'm very particular about especially meats I buy. Like I try to buy everything organic for the most part, except like if I'm getting
vegan for a little bit.
No, I just don't have dairy.
Okay.
Never been vegan. I do like meat. Okay. I don't think I could ever give up meat. Yeah. Which I know some people would not like, but
a lot of people say like meat's bad for you, right? And I was like, most people who talk about like the stats on like eating red meat and stuff like that, they don't take in the fact that what are you eating a hamburger with? French fries. What are you eating a steak with? Usually mashed potatoes, like stuff like that. You know, and like it's just like the education. Like, are you eating grass fed?
I was just about to say that. Yeah, like I buy, like if I'm buying steak, like I always buy, like generally I get at Whole Foods. They have like a great like the meat counter, and I get like the pasture raised beef. I'm like, this cow was out in the grass. It had normal life. It ate well. It wasn't injected with hormones, and circle of life. In like my opinion, like some people disagree, which is totally fine to each their own. But
have
like,
you ever had the bison from Whole Foods?
No, I haven't.
Bison. Oh,
so
good. It's super lean, super good. Sorry.
Yeah. No, that'll be like on my list. But yeah, no, I was just going to say like, I always am like very particular about that stuff, which also does affect like when people say it's bad for you, when you're buying a cow that didn't have all these hormones put into it, then you're eating like protein. And also like meat has like so many good minerals in it, like vitamin K, magnesium are so high, iron, which I think people don't realize.
The thing is like, it kind of sucks too. A lot of people who are vegetarian and people who are vegan, they have to get those supplements from somewhere. Yeah. You know, and sometimes that's not the healthiest.
No. I mean, I think when people are vegan for more ethical reasons,
I totally get it.
I totally get it.
I understand.
Whereas I'm like, I completely understand your point of view. You don't want to eat an animal that died. Super cool. Not for me. Yeah. But I'm particular about how that animal died. Sure. So I'm like, I try to balance it out.
I had venison for the first time, which is deer.
I haven't. I don't know if I can do it. I won't even really have lamb. Okay. No. That is an ethical reason because I feel bad for the cute lamb.
Or Bambi.
Yeah, like I feel a little bad.
Yeah, but so I have buddies who hunt and stuff. So their reasons like they're only going to eat any meat that they shoot and kill themselves because they know it's been taken care of properly.
Yeah, and that I actually am not totally against that. Like friends of ours, they live way up north in Canada, and they had, I think the other day, like moose and rabbit because they hunted it themselves, and I was like, not for me. Like I'm not eating a moose, but it's like they knew where it came from. Yeah. That kind of thing. So
yeah, that's funny. A lot of people, they always have like an idea of like a certain animal they're eating. Like you were talking about like Bambi, right? Or like just like a cute.
I know, like a cute fluffy lamb. I feel bad.
Yeah, like some people will talk about like bears. Like a teddy bear isn't a teddy bear. Like bears are scary.
Yeah, they're scary. Yeah. But meanwhile, I'm like, I don't care. that's going to sound bad. I was going to say, like, there's a lot of chickens in the world. Like, there's a lot. Like, there's so many that I'm like, it's okay.
Yeah. Same with, like, there's a ton of pigs out there, too. Like, wild
Yeah,
boar.
there's a lot. Like, I actually don't eat too much pork, but...
Oh, I fuck with bacon, man. I love
See,
bacon.
I have a lot of turkey bacon, but again, it's like uncured, whatever, like good quality turkey bacon.
Yeah. So how did you get into shoes? Because I'm like, this chick always got fly ass kicks on.
do,
It's
like-
not her best ones today.
These aren't my best, but they're still
They're
fun.
still awesome.
I know. I was thinking about wearing Jordans, but
I was like, dang. Because, like, there's not a lot of girls that are sneakerheads that I know. And I would say you're the closest person to that I know. Who's a chick.
I feel really honored to have that title, sneakerhead. I think the way I got into it, like my parents were both.
Sorry, Annika also rocks them in like a dress and like girl shit too. It's not like a tomboy type of deal.
No,
just
it's
like putting that out.
Yeah,
there.
like if I'm wearing like a dress, like I really don't mind throwing on like a pair of Jordans with it.
I'm just like, yo.
I'm kind of dressed like a tomboy right now. This is like probably a guy's like vintage shirt, but I mean, I've got earrings on.
Yeah,
my hair
sure.
My parents, both of them were in the fashion industry, and then so I like as a kid always
It all makes sense now.
yeah, like I always kind of cared about like I always liked clothes because my parents, it was sort of like put on me like you have to look nice. Like if we were going for dinner, it was like put nice clothes on, and then. Yeah, like when I was like 6 years old, I used to lay my clothes out like in the shape of me, like on the ground before bed. Like this is like the organization I've had my whole life. Like I would lay out like my shirt with the pants and the socks. Like
you don't need any self-help books. What are you talking about?
yeah, so I always like clothes, and then with shoes. I mean, they're kind of like I feel like they're sort of like a thing right now. Like people are into sneakers and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've always kind of liked them. I think I got I got into them in Australia, but no, I liked them before that too. And then, but they are expensive.
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna have to take a break with moving right now, which sucks because there's a couple pairs of Jordans releasing at the end of this month in February, but I'm like, I have to reset.
Do you have like a robot? Like people pay for like a robot to get the shoes first and stuff because they're so exclusive.
I wish I did because people do that and you save a lot of money, but
you just
most of my shoes are like resale.
Okay.
But they're not like I'm not buying the ones that are like
thousands of
no, like that's a bit ridiculous
There's
to
this
me.
little kid I train. Not little. He's 16 or 17. He's a young man. He has a bot for shoes and he resells them. He got like 3 pairs of like Travis Scott.
Oh my gosh.
And he just resells them. And he's 16, 17, and he's like flipping shoes, making $500 like each thing.
A girl we worked with at the gym, she did that too.
Oh.
She like bought and resold shoes. Like I actually wanted to do that with the Dior Jordans because those sold for like around 2,000.
It's ridiculous.
And now they're reselling between like 10 and 15. So I'm like, I could have profited like $8,000 on this, but you 100%. Need a bot to get them, which is hard.
What does fashion mean to you? Because like, I'm pretty minimalistic, and in terms of my head, like me thinking out and laying out my clothes the night before is just like a lot of headspace. And usually I just wear like, today I'm wearing like a striped shirt, but mostly just like solids, like all solids. I just pick a solid at that white, black, red, black, something like that, and I'm good.
I think, well, that's also like a reason I love LA. Like LA, there's things that I would wear here that I would never wear back home because it's like, if I wore it back home, it's like
what?
I guess it's more like revealing-ish tops. Not even that they're that revealing. It's
revealing
like
you would more wear
here. Yeah. Like I think like if I went for dinner, like if I went out for dinner, like right now, like baggier jeans are really in, but I think those pair really well with like a smaller crop top.
Yeah.
But certain tops, like I have one that like, I guess it kind of like shows your chest like a bit more. Sure. Not even that much, but like in a lot more of your stomach. And I would never wear that back home.
Really?
Like never. Versus LA, I feel like you can wear whatever you want. Yeah. And it's like, just like expressing yourself and being like, yeah, like this is my style and I'm going to rock it. Like you can go to Nobu, which some people dress to the nines for, and then you look beside you and someone's in a pair of sweatpants. Like, which I'm like, that's unreal. Like you wear what you want to wear and I'll wear what I want to wear. And like, I think it's a cool thing. That's like, I love that about LA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think fashion tells something about you?
Oh, I don't know. I feel like that's deep and I haven't thought of that before. Maybe
so, like,
that I'm
what you wear, your fashion, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously you dress for the way you like the way you dress. That's why you dress that way.
Yeah.
And probably makes you feel good to dress the way you dress versus wearing sweats all day. Like someone else like might love being in sweats all day.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just them.
Though sweats are kind of trendy right now. I've gotten
Sweats with the crop top, guys.
Sweats with the crop top. I actually
and some Jordans.
Yeah, that's like my look. I love that vibe. I actually just got a new pair. It's this company called the Pangea. They're really cool though. They
Pangea, like not Patagonia.
No, Pangea. Which I saw people in LA wearing it. It's really cool. Everything's recycled. So it's all the fabric is done and like made with like organic, properly grown like cotton. And then they use all recycled water and everything is dyed like ethically and with like they use like a lot of plants to dye things.
Yeah.
So it's a really cool company. It's very freaking expensive though.
Sure.
Like it's ridiculous.
But it's crazy that like a lot of like companies who like do good like for the environment they're so
expensive. Okay. This is it. Third time's a charm.
Yeah. So Annika was talking about, so your parents, your dad sells wedding gowns.
Yeah. So he like sells to the stores. So he's always traveled a lot for work. Cause he goes to the stores and sells. And
so when you get married to Matt, you're just going to have the flyest wedding dress with, some
dresses,
Jordans.
Plural. There's going to be 2. I want 2. One for the reception, one for the ceremony. But yeah.
Oh, you already planned it out.
Oh yeah. I've like already told my dad and he's like, yeah, no, it's fine. But yes, there'll probably be a pair of Jordans in there. But there'd be some Jordans in there, I think, for like the reception, like when you're dancing.
Have you guys talked about marriage and stuff?
Yeah. It's our 5 years. Like
that's a long time.
It's been a while, and like I'm 28, Matt's 29, so probably in the next couple of years it would happen. I just kind of want to be like more settled in our life. Like as you were saying, like what I'm most looking forward to this year, it's like a job, our house, like apartment getting done, just feeling like having some stability. Yeah. Because we've been like on the go for a long time.
It's funny how back to your dad who sells wedding dresses, there's like so many people who like it's just like the oddest things. Like some people have to sell wedding dresses.
Yeah. I mean, my dad has done like quite well for himself. Like I can like say that. Yeah. So it's, and then, I mean, he has an office in New York. Like there's kind of more to it. I think that I don't even know how it all works, but yeah. And then my mom was in the fashion industry because she passed away almost 2 years ago now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. And so she worked at like a designer clothing store. So I was always kind of like around in that there. Stuff. Yeah. So that both my parents have always kind of been into nice clothing and shoes. Like my mom was a big shoe person.
Yeah. That's kind of where you got it from?
Yeah. Unfortunately, her feet are like 2 sizes bigger than mine are. So I couldn't take any of her shoes, which sucked because I was like, I would kill for some of these. But yeah, that's kind of like the...
What do you call it? You don't need to answer if you don't want to. What's the biggest lesson you learned from, I guess, losing a parent at an early age?
I don't know. No, I definitely can answer. I think... I don't know if I would even describe it as a lesson. It's hard to think of like a lesson that came from it because it's definitely hard. I think maybe like with grieving, if anything, there's a lesson there is to like be kind to yourself, which seems like that's something I'm constantly telling myself because it comes and goes. Like I think what's hard with it is like when it happens, everyone's like, oh, I'm so sorry. And you kind of are caught up in sort of, it's nice. Like it's comforting that everyone is there caring for you, but it goes away because there's like the funeral and everything going on. And then now it's been like almost 2 years. So it's not really brought up as much. And sometimes I find that hard because you're like, this didn't happen that long ago. Like I'm still grieving with this. And I think learning to deal with those emotions and like letting them come, because I'm someone who sort of suppresses them. Yeah. But you definitely have to like let them come, deal with them, and know like it's okay. Yeah. And then I think like you just have to accept certain things. Like it sucks. Like I wouldn't have my mom at my wedding, but
do you think it kind of lit a fire under your ass to like just like live life more, do things that you want to do, and like
totally. Yeah. Like I definitely think that's a big thing is like, my mom was 64, I think. Though she didn't look it. Like both my dad's 63 now. Both my parents, probably if you saw them, like when my mom was alive, like she looked like in her early 50s because I have an 18, or he turned 19 yesterday actually.
Brother?
19-year-old brother. So I think that kept them very young.
Are you guys tight?
I think semi. It's kind of hard. He's at that age where like his friends are like his most important people, but he's like such a great kid and he's in his first year of college and doing great. I do feel bad for him. Probably more so than me losing my mom because he lost her. He was 17.
He was younger.
Yeah. So I think that, and he had just turned 17. It was like a month after. sometimes I feel more for him because like the younger you are, the less you have a parent there to experience those life events with you. But
do you have any advice to anyone who's out there who lost a parent, like, and they're still grieving with it, like how to cope with that at all? Because a lot of people like are really sad for a long time and kind of don't go out there and like just like, I don't know, it might sound bad to say, but kind of move on.
No, it's hard. I think back to me being a very disciplined person, that comes back in. So my mom had passed away in February 2019. And then I found out a week before she passed away that I got into UCLA. So my mom found out, and like I got a scholarship. So we were like, she was really excited about that. Yeah. And then I honestly didn't even like wait to hear back, or I think I was going to be applying to USC too, but their deadline was later. And I was like, then my mom passed away. I was like, I'm not even applying to USC because my mom knew I was going to UCLA. And I think in that moment of after she passed away, I was moving to the US like 6 months later, which is like you're moving to a new country. I'm starting like the most rigorous schooling I've ever done while grieving my mom. And I think I very easily, and I think I very easily could have, which would have been an absolutely fine decision. I could have let that like take hold of me and been like, I'm going to defer from UCLA, which would have led me to not coming to the US because of COVID if I went a year later. And I could have let that hold me back a bit. And I just think then it goes back to remembering that life is short, that when opportunities come up, they're not always going to be there. And I think I had to really go in onto like my disciplined nature and be like, I have to push through this. These are my goals. My goal is to go to UCLA. My goal is to graduate. My goal is to be working in the music business. And I'm the only one who can make that happen. So I think being disciplined really did benefit me. Like I still have my weak like moments.
Even though that was like a rough time, like everything else won't wait for Annika.
No, and I think that's the thing for me is like I'm very goal driven and like being successful, and not just like financially, like it's with my boyfriend and my life and being happy, like being successful in all those things is important to me. And I didn't want to be sad for too long.
Back to the whole balance thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I think is just knowing that, feel like my advice I guess would be to like feel those emotions, but know that unfortunately life still goes on, but that doesn't mean that you're going to forget that loved person at all, and they're still always with you. And weird signs do happen. Like I'm not a very spiritual person, but it sort of makes you spiritual sometimes. For me it did a little bit. Like my mom had always had this thing when her mom passed away that she found dimes everywhere, which meant that like an angel was nearby. And I'm like, I guess maybe being in law, I'm like a very logical person. I'm like, no, like you found a dime. But then I remember there's like the funeral and the visitation. And then after the visitation, I was getting gas. And this is like middle of winter in Canada, like February, and it's just cold. And I was getting gas and there was just like slush on the ground. And I look on the ground and like through the slush, something was shining, and I moved the snow and it was a dime. And it was like right after the visitation, I was like, this is weird. No. So things like that. And then beautiful. Like the next day after the funeral, I was doing laundry and I took the towels out of the dryer, just towels. There's nothing else in there. And I hear something clang and it's a dime. And I was like, this is weird. Why would there be a dime? Like with my towels, like random things like that. So I think to hold on to like, I don't know, little things like that, knowing that like they are still with you in some way, but you are still important and you still have a life to live. So don't let the passing of someone else's life make your own life pass by, I guess. Yeah, that'd probably be my advice.
That was beautiful.
Oh, thanks.
That was so awesome. What's your definition of happiness? Because you were talking about just like making your own life happy and just like balancing it all together. And like, what's your, I don't know, like picture your definition of happiness?
I don't know. I do think that back to like having a balance, like for me, I do want to do well professionally. Like, I think that's also like why I'm in LA. And I do think that that does have a reflection on some of my happiness. Like people say like, oh, like your work doesn't reflect your happiness. But like, I personally think it does. Like, because that's like I was in university for 9 years. Like
It's a lot of fucking school,
it's a
folks.
lot. It's a lot of school. Like, don't recommend. Like when I graduated, I was like, thank God.
Yeah.
But I think like getting that job, like that's sort of like the culmination of like all my years of work. So I think that, but then also taking that time for yourself. Like I remember New Year's Day this year, like I was in the US for New Year's. I flew back to the US on the 30th, and January 1st, I was like, let's just go to Malibu. So me and my boyfriend and one of my good friends here, we went to Malibu for the day.
Yeah.
And then like on the pier, like we got a cocktail, and it was like the most beautiful sunset. And I said probably like 15 times this day, I was like, I'm so happy. Like it just felt like the weather was beautiful, and we were just like relaxed and like taking in everything around us. And it felt so good. I was like, so I think maybe being in an environment that makes you feel good is really important to your own happiness.
Creating that your own
environment. That's true. That's like a big thing. You kind of
created that environment right there. You decided to come to LA. You decided to go to law school, and you decided to date this awesome dude.
Well,
you know, and you kind of put it all together, and you decided to like the weather was great that day. You decided all these things.
That's true. Yeah.
And it just came together. You're like, wow.
Yeah, I was like, I'm so happy. I was like, I'm here. And I think, just like being, appreciative of everything around you. And if you're not happy, then move. Like, I didn't love being back home in Toronto. And there's not meaning to say I don't love certain things about it. I do, like my friends and my family. But I also love being here. And I think overall, like the weather, like being sunny all the time, that makes me really happy. So I'm like, things like that. But I guess, probably what makes me happy is definitely like a balance of everything, which I guess sounds sort of like general.
Articulate that a little bit more, please.
I don't know. This is hard. I guess I would like to have, I think with a job, maybe not only is it something that reflects your efforts. Like I think you shouldn't settle for something that isn't, or at a job that's not appreciating what you do. But I think you also need to like your job. Like, for example, like a lot of people at a law school go into like big law, like going at the big law firms because they pay the most. Like out of law school, you're making about $180,000 a year, like, which is a lot of freaking money, like when you're right out of school, because it's like help pay off debts and whatever. But that's like not for me. And I knew that from the start. So while I could have gone there and back to me being like happy in my job, I would have been happy with the money, but like I would have hated going to work every day.
That's pretty self-aware of you.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. Yeah. So I was like, no, I would rather sacrifice the money a bit, still find somewhere that's like fitting for me financially, but also like what I'm doing every day.
Yeah.
So I think a job where you feel like you like doing it, like don't just like settle for something that you don't like. I think happiness in your job and like being with someone that appreciates you is also important, like, and supports you. Like my boyfriend was there, like when my mom passed away and like he moved to Australia my last year. And then I was like, well, also I think I want to go to LA. He was like, okay.
He just supported the whole way.
Yeah. And I mean, him being a videographer, LA was like a really great move for him, but
it all worked out.
Yeah. I think you need someone like supportive in your corner. Well, it does help. Like if you're alone, that's also great. Like support yourself too. But, I guess, I don't know. I don't know if I articulated that well.
No, that was awesome.
But if it was okay.
Alrighty, I think that was like over an hour, but thank you. Where can everyone find you? TikTok's the most important in terms of food wise.
I actually just had one TikTok blow up, but it wasn't food related. It was about getting my nails done.
It's okay. About nails. What's it called? I don't go on TikTok, so you could say the TikTok. I'll shout you out on Instagram.
Oh, my TikTok and my Instagram handles are the same. It's just at Anika Chellen, my name.
Go check her out, guys. And thanks again.
Thanks for
coming.
Having
Appreciate
me.
you.
This was so fun. Thanks.
Sweet.